Some may say on New England Sports United that we have a lot of pressing issues on our hands. My picks being one of them, but I think the Celtics have a couple pressing issues on their hands as well, and the Patriots might as well. So I figured, why not bring in a Boston Celtics diehard, a coaching expert, a guy with coaching expertise, and a guy who's looking to get into coaching, Ben Vitale, my good friend. Welcome to the channel.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to get into a variety of topics. One of them, and most urgently, the Boston Celtics. They obviously got eliminated by the Miami Heat in somewhat surprising fashion. But it didn't really turn out to be the series that we all anticipated. Do you think that this Celtics team has the ceiling to potentially push through the Eastern Conference and get to a finals? Do you think that the Celtics, as currently constructed, can do that?
As currently constructed, yeah, I do because, they're young. So we got Tatum on the rise, and I think he'll have a really good year next year. Brown also could potentially be an all-star next year in the East. Kemba, if he stays injury-free for the majority of the year, that'll be huge. If we get Smart back defensively, maybe he can improve his shot-taking offensively, then that'll be good. I think we could use a little more depth. We could use a true five to start. I do like Tice, but I feel like we definitely need height to match up with those Western Conference teams that got the big men.
And the Celtics were unable to exploit some of Miami's zone. Do you think the loss to Miami was a situational thing, a coaching thing, just simply that they didn't match up well, or was it an effort thing? Like, what was the defining factor to you that the Celtics lost?
I'm not, I hate to blame it on certain things, but I would like to use the bubble like as a blame for this because I just feel like the bubble really helped Miami in a way that just propelled them over Boston to that next level to bring them to the finals. Because I don't know, the Miami is just, they were the underdog in that series. The 5 seed going into it, they beat Milwaukee, and Tyler Hero really showed up in the bubble as a rookie. Not playing in front of any fans probably helped his game, and his confidence definitely showed up, and they just played together. And I think the Celtics, they couldn't move the ball as much as they needed to against the zone. They're that ISO team that likes to slow it down. So I think it really could be blamed on the schematics, could be blamed on the bubble, could be blamed on coaching. But I think a mix of all those things really kind of just wasn't our year.
Yeah, and I said this to you before, is that the bubble was a unique environment, especially for young guys. We see young teams like Denver, we see young team like Miami and Dallas just play loose, and they had really nothing to lose going into this thing. So, and you and I played AAU tournaments, great, excellent prospects, top-notch, 5-star kind of guys. AAU tournaments all day long. If you told me to, go into an AAU tournament a couple of years ago and been like, you know what, hit a 3, I could do that, right? In front of 25,000 people, ask me to shoot a 3, that thing's going into tomorrow. That thing's not it'll be like Bermuda Triangle. It'll be terrible. But Tyler Hero, if you just asked him to go into an empty gym and light it up, absolutely. Absolutely, he could do that.
Yeah.
So I think you bring up a really good point there. But you brought up coaching, and that's an interesting thing because a lot of people stand up for Brad Stevens. We're heroes, right? I'm one of them. I'm pro Brad Stevens. Other people, not so much. Where do you stand on the whole Brad Stevens thing? Is his job, should it be in question?
Well, I think you know very well where I stand with Brad Stevens. I like bringing this up because this is like the one very few things that we disagree on in sports.
Boy.
Usually we agree a lot, but he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure overall he's had a winning record with Boston. His first couple of years were obviously like the rebuild just started. But ever since, he's only gone up in wins or something like that until recently when they've kind of plateaued as one of the top teams in the East. But obviously he's a good coach. I just feel like with the past 3 out of 4 years, we've made the Eastern Conference Finals and haven't been able to push through to the finals. Obviously, you can blame that on the first year with Isaiah Thomas, Avery Bradley, Horford, those guys. You could say like, oh, that team definitely over exceeded the expectations. We didn't even see them like making it to the second round or whatever. I don't
Mhm.
know. And then the year after that, Tatum was a rookie, and that was the year Terry Rozier was at point guard because Kyrie was out, right?
Yep.
So you could blame it on that. Tatum did have a good series and obviously had that emphatic dunk on LeBron James
Yep.
at Game 7. So you could blame it on age, but I think Brad Stevens, especially in this series, it really showed that he couldn't adjust as well as Eric Spoelstra did on the fly for their team. And you need that in a coach. You need to be able to, when Miami throws it at you and goes zone, you need to switch mid-game and have a game plan set. And then they came up the next game thinking Miami was going to play zone. Miami played man. They probably practiced the whole day before for zone, so they
Yeah.
didn't know what they were doing. So, a whole different slew of things goes into it. But I don't know. Brad Stevens, questionable for me.
I will admit he didn't have the greatest series, and I did think Miami was a
Okay.
little ahead of the curve. I thought they set the tone, and the Celtics were just trying to catch up. If you're catching up and you're not on the high ground, that's just not a good place to be in the playoffs. But I'm not going to let one series define him. I'm not going to like if the Celtics need to make a change, then like 27 other teams need to make a change too. Like Brad Stevens, if he was fired by the Celtics, I would bet the under on total amount of time that he would get a call. Like it'd be under 20 minutes. He'd get a call from another team. Like Doc Rivers had a terrible, like he woefully underachieved in 7 years with the Clippers. 2 days later, he's getting a job today. And I do want to switch to that because
Mhm.
Doc Rivers coached here in Boston, good coach, kind of exposed. Where are you on Doc in Philly, and how does that land for you?
I like it. I kind of saw it coming. I don't think I could have seen him in Houston or,
Yeah.
one of the top teams is gonna pick him up though. We all knew that, and I think Philly has got to be a good fit for him. I think he's going to enjoy coaching Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. It's a new territory for any coach, to coach a guy that really should be playing power forward, but you got a guy that big playing point guard, and then Joel Embiid, who's a monster playing down low. That's a matchup nightmare for opposing defenses. So I'm sure he's excited. I'm excited to see what happens, but hopefully they don't do too good because we need to still beat them as the Celtics coming out of the East. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
I think it's a good move. Don't get me wrong, but is it a little far fetched? Do you think it's?
You think? Who
I don't
else
want to
do
put
you
the
think?
word desperate out there, but is this their last chance to really stitch things together? Like this, they're
Oh,
not going to trade one of the two stars, but is
yeah.
this going to be like the last hurrah for that duo to really push through?
I don't know what their contracts are looking like, but I know for sure once one of their contracts is up, I think that's the end of that era in Philly. Uh,
Ooh, okay.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
They
Um,
don't fit.
I mean, yeah, it could be that, or Simmons got hurt in the bubble, so obviously, I think they could have made a good run this year in the bubble. But who knows? Like they played the Celtics in the first round. Obviously, they're a good team, so that would have been a good series if Simmons was there.
Oh, great series.
So, um, you know, it's. I hope next year Simmons stays injury free and we can see what kind of stuff they can do together, like for real. Because I don't know. Who do you think for a coach should have gone there if you think it's questionable for Doc?
I don't. It's not
Yeah.
questionable for Doc, but from like the
Okay.
the Sixers' perspective, and they gave him 5 years. I'm not going to say that this was like a 1 or 2 year thing, but they gave him 5 years. They trust him, obviously. My only reservation is this the guy to really make it fit? Like, I don't know. You have great coaches that can fit pretty much anywhere, but you have coaches that are designed to coach certain teams. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What do you mean though? What do you think? Well, maybe I should ask. What team do you think Doc should be coaching then?
Honestly, New Orleans. I think New Orleans would be a great spot for him because you could look at that roster and say they're young and they're ready to pop. What was it? 1 or 2 years ago, the Clippers had a squad where it was pre Kawhi and everything that they it was before Chris. It was after Chris Paul, but before Kawhi Leonard, where they didn't have any stars. They were just a ton of guys
The
that
Tobias
play,
Harris year
yeah, play
that he
hard,
was like the
no
leading
name guys,
scorer. Yeah.
and they're tough. New
Hmm.
Orleans is kind of like that. Like Doc is best as a not as a win it right now coach, but as a development coach.
Hmm.
You could look at Lonzo Ball and be like, okay, that's their Rondo. That's their version of Rondo. You could look at Brandon Ingram and say, okay, that's their ISO score, kind of like a Paul Pierce prototype. And you could look at Zion and be like, if only he had a guy that coached KG to tell him how to, like really play tough. You could look at that nucleus and be like, okay, that kind of shows signs of that Celtics team.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
that'd
I
be
get where you're coming from for sure. I like that comparison. Yeah, but because he's never really coached a big man like Joel Embiid.
it's true.
I guess you could say Kevin Garnett, but Kevin Garnett was more of a 4 to me than a 5. So, but Joel Embiid's a true back to the basket big, and now he's developing the 3 in his game. So, a lot of possibilities. I don't know. We'll see
I
where it goes, I guess.
I just feel like Doc was the biggest name available, and they were
Oh
just
yeah,
like, yeah,
he
let's
was
just get the
picked up
biggest
quick.
name.
I think it was like 3 days, right, or 2 days or something. It
Yeah.
was quick. So,
But I want to go back to the Celtics, and the Celtics have a
mhm.
lot of work to do going forward. Draft coming up, free agency coming up. What type of player should the Celtics pick up in an ideal offseason? Victor Oladipo rumors out there, Miles Turner rumors out there, a lot of rumors floating around. What like prototype of player do you think the Celtics should pick up?
I think I mentioned it earlier, but I think we need a solid 5, and push Tice to the 4 and try to like be able to match up with the bigger teams in the West, not even necessarily the East, but the entire league. Because once we get to the finals, if that happens, we wouldn't have matched up that well this year with the Lakers. The Lakers would have killed us. They just killed Miami on the rebounds last night. So I think we really need a true rebounding big that can defend and can grab rebounds. I don't think he needs to necessarily shoot because we got Tatum and Kemba and Brown, who we got to facilitate the ball through and get them their shots. And Smart's gonna jack up his fair share. Um, but if it's trading up, trading big, and drafting James Wiseman with the second pick, I would love that. Or trading for a guy like Steven Adams or Miles Turner, like you said, one of those guys I feel like could really help the Celtics.
So you don't cross out Oladipo in your book?
As for Oladipo, I like him as a player. I always have since Orlando, but it's just like we got Walker, we got Smart already off the bench. We got Brown, who I'd rather play the 2, like, and Tatum at the 3 and Tice at
Yeah.
the 4, and then a big 5, just to start. But and then we got Hayward. If we don't move him, we'll have him next year. Langford's going to be a second-year player. Wanamaker, who got some good time this year. And then both the point guards, Waters and Edwards. We just got a ton of guards. That's my point.
Yeah.
So like, I would love Victor Oladipo on Boston. Trust me, but like I feel like since we already have a lot of guards, we should try to focus on getting a big burst. But if Victor Oladipo's packaged with Miles Turner, we'll take him.
Yeah. I like your Wiseman idea. I'm just gonna play devil's advocate though.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Wiseman played 3 games at Memphis. Translation between high school and the pros, he's gonna play 3 games between graduating high school and playing in the NBA. 3 games.
Yeah.
And then you insert him into the starting lineup of a championship level team. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot to gauge that. I don't know. That's a lot.
You bring up a good point. I think obviously, 3 games at the college level, and then what do you get kicked off or something for
Yeah.
that money issue? But
yeah,
whatever, it doesn't matter. But I think obviously it might take some time for him to grow or like get to that point where you're like whatever it is gets over the fear of playing in front of so many fans. If we have fans in the stands next year,
Yeah.
or playing against those bigger guys in the NBA. Obviously, those guys are bigger than guys at high school or even college. So whatever it is, I think it'll take time. But I think in due time, I think he'll put it all together and he'll be good.
Yeah. let's play revisionist history. And back at the trade deadline, I was one of the few Danny Ainge supporters that was like, nope, we're not going to make a move at the trade deadline. This team is good right now. Because when Kyrie Irving was here, chemistry a little questionable. Couple of years there, and we were just like, all right, can we finally get this chemistry thing going, please? Like, come on, this thing's getting old. Kemba arrives, it blossoms pretty much day one. We finally have it going. I'm not messing things up. I'm not messing chemistry up for the sake of, a solid bench guy off the bench. I'm not doing that. Do you think, looking back at it and looking at how they flamed out in the playoffs, flamed out, get it, Miami Heat pun? Do you think they should have made a move at the trade deadline?
I looking back on it, we made the playoffs. Obviously, we got to the Eastern Conference Finals, a few games away from the finals itself. So, in that scenario, you got to look at it and say, okay, successful year. Like clearly we made the right moves in the offseason and during the season to get to this point. If we made a trade at the trade deadline, does that impact us in a negative or positive way? And looking back on it, I could say I could make the reasons up for let's do a trade, or no, let's not. It could go either way. I think obviously, like I said, if we were trading for a big guy, I think that could have helped. But unless we were flipping guards for better guards, I don't see what could have really propelled us over the Miami Heat, unless we were trading for like a true shooter. Because I feel like that's probably also what we're missing, is like a real, like, just spot up, catch and shoot JJ Redick kind of guy,
100%. Like, going into next year, and the offseason hasn't happened yet, obviously, and we just know the teams as they are now. But just looking ahead and looking at kind of the threats in the Eastern Conference, going into next year, should the Celtics be kind of the team to beat in the East? Should they be the favorites to advance to the finals? Knowing kind of what we know now, that Doc's going to be in Philly, Giannis is kind of on thin ice in Milwaukee. Do you think the Celtics should be, top dog in the East?
I think yes, from a bias standpoint, that I'm a Celtics fan. I think they should have been there this year, but yeah. Miami's coming back. Tyler Hero is going to be a second-year player. Bam's just going to get better. Jimmy Butler's just going to be more of a leader, Duncan Robinson, all those guys put together. But if we add Giannis to that mix, no way. I don't think so. Because there's rumors of him going to Miami, and there's rumors of him going to Golden State. So I'd rather, if he does happen to leave the Bucks, I'd rather him go out to the West. And it's already a dogfight out there, so just let it get worse. And then if we get the easy stroll to the finals, we got it, But I think the Heat's going to be a big roadblock. If Ben Simmons and the Sixers can stay healthy, they'll be there. If the Pacers can put some stuff together to put around Oladipo and Turner instead of getting rid of them, then maybe they could, be a factor. But there's not many teams in the East that stand in the way of Boston, in my opinion. I don't know about you.
No, I don't think so. Doc adds an interesting kind of layer to it, but we already know the book on Embiid and Simmons. They don't fit. Yeah. They really don't. And
they don't.
Giannis can be marginalized easily, just build up a wall against him, and he's not going anywhere. Miami, they're going to play hard again. We'll see. But yeah, right now, if I were to set odds for way too early Eastern Conference favorites odds, I'd go the Celtics pretty favorably. But I do want to talk about the Heat, and I do want to talk about the Lakers. NBA Finals. Game 1 already was, underway. And Miami suffered 3 crucial injuries that it looks like the series is over pretty much after game 1. Lakers were hitting everything they looked at. Meanwhile, Miami's just trying to hobble and find a medic somewhere. Is this going to be over in quick work?
I think so. I think at first I picked the Lakers in 5 or 6, probably closer to 6. I gave Miami that fight that they deserved, let them get a couple of games. But at this point, I think Bam's beat up. Bam's hurt. Yep. He's trying to put it together and stay strong. Obviously, he's a backbone of that team. But let's say he doesn't play the rest of the series, I'm pretty sure it's up in the air right now. Let's say he doesn't. Who are they going to put in? Kelly Olynyk? Myers Leonard,
Mr.
like
Finesse.
those guys. Oh my lord, those guys can't guard a trash can. Like seriously, like like, and let alone guard one of the top 5 players in the world. And Dwight Howard, who Stephen A. says has muscles growing out of his ears.
Oh my gosh,
I love that one, but
he's hilarious.
I love him. But yeah, I don't see the Heat getting a game anymore because of the sheer dominance of LA last night. They were down 10 early, and the Heat looked promising. Maybe even down more in the first quarter. I think they had a huge comeback at the end of the first quarter to tie it up. LeBron played great. Rajon Rondo was good. Anthony Davis obviously played really good. But Goran Dragic is out for the remainder of the playoffs, I believe, right? Is that confirmed?
It's looking like that.
Yeah, he had that tear in his foot, so that stinks. He was clearly one of their leading scorers, and like I said, if Bam's out, I'd call it a sweep. Jimmy Butler had that nasty looking like ankle turn, Somehow he played the rest of the game.
Somehow.
Props to him, but
yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I picked Lakers in 6, but now it's looking like Lakers in 4.
Mm-hmm.
And all these fun stories go up against the Lakers, and we're like, oh, they're going to be challenging. They never are. Like Portland in the first round. You and I talked about it privately. We were like, all right, Portland looks hot. They're looking good. They go up against the Lakers out in 5. Houston. Oh, who's going to guard Harden and Westbrook? Harden is a defensive stopper after he allowed 30 points to Lou Dort, a guy who like 90% of the people listening to this can't even pick out of a lineup. Yeah, he scored 30 on James Harden. Defensive lockdown. He's going to present a huge challenge for LeBron. God. LeBron gets him in 5. Denver beat the Clippers, overachieved. This is their year. They provide a challenge nobody else does to the Lakers. Out in 5. Like all these cute stories go up against LeBron, a guy that I'd like to call the broken drying machine, and shrinks all the laundry. Yeah, everyone shrinks when they go up against LeBron. So yeah, Lakers
for sure.
I gave Miami the benefit of the doubt just because of how Eric Spoelstra's just too good. He's inevitably going to steal a game, but that's what I thought going into it at least. But now it's looking like Lakers in quick work.
Yep, I think so. The one thing I want to point out, though, is Kendrick Nunn had to fill in, obviously, big time on minutes. Yep, and he really stepped up. He hasn't played good since they came back to play from the time off, obviously, because of COVID. But he had 18, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. I'm reading right here. So, good game from him. Hopefully he has a good remainder of the series filling in for Dragic if he's out.
And I said to you, their margin for error was so small. They needed you even brought up a good point, is that I said their margin for error was so small that they needed, nothing could go wrong for them. Mm-hmm. You said to me, everything needs to go right for them. And that's when Bam, Butler, and Goran Dragic were healthy. Now that shrinks it to like a credit card's width. I don't see it happening. I don't.
Yeah, that's certainly not everything going right at all. That's the exact opposite. Everything went wrong.
Nightmare.
Once LeBron just got a hold of them, they were done. Absolutely. Went down 30 in the third quarter. Are you kidding me? That's embarrassing.
It was.
They should be ashamed.
Oh my gosh! But I did advertise you. I'm excited. I am too. I advertised you before the show as a football extraordinaire. You know a lot of stuff. You're a halfway Rams fan. You love Todd Gurley, but he's not there anymore, obviously. So you're still pulling for Goff, McVay, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Rams probably should have won that game against the Buffalo Bills last week. Now they're 2-1. They're making things interesting. You think the Rams are for real?
Yeah, I think so. Like you said with the Bills game, really unfortunate. I think they had the momentum, obviously, with that big comeback. But you can't count Josh Allen out either, though. He's really good.
He's good.
He is for real, If anybody's unsure about the Rams, the Bills are for real. But
Yeah.
obviously, like you said, I'm rooting for some of the guys on the Rams, like Donald and the defense and McVay as a coach, just because of how young he is and how when he sprung onto the scene, LA started really picking things up. So I'm rooting for him. Goff's looking to have a good start to the year. Hopefully he can keep it up. He's got that decent receiving core. And then Darrell Henderson, the running back that's filling in for Gurley, has been picking up a lot of carries since Cam Akers went down with an injury. So I don't really expect Cam Akers to really make a comeback. Obviously, he'll get carries, but I think Darrell Henderson's going to be the lead back in LA.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I think the Rams are for real. For real, as in like Super Bowl, I don't think so. But for real, as in playoff appearance, I absolutely think so. I think an interesting wrinkle to this whole season has been no real training camp, no real practice. It's going to be nice for some of these teams that bring back their quarterback, that bring back their head coach, that bring back their coordinators, that have like familiarity with each other. They don't have to introduce each other, have those icebreakers. They know each other already. Like, for example, I'm doing a show with you. We've known each other, forever. This is chemistry right here. That's chemistry.
Yep.
I simply wouldn't be as good as if I were with, some guy from Iowa, that I don't know. So I think it helps a lot. For them going forward, though, I see playoffs. I do. I like Jared Goff more than everyone else. Sean McVay, he was kind of the prototype of a coach, young guy, quick guy, knows his offense, really energetic guy.
Oh, yeah.
He was the guy. He was the kind of guy you wanted a couple of years ago. Now he's coming back. I don't know. I see a winning season. But I want to talk about the Patriots, and the Patriots are a team that I completely whiffed on. I said 5-11 going into this year. I said it from the rooftop. I said Cam Newton's not going to work. I just didn't believe it. They should be 3-0 if Cam were to score a touchdown against Seattle. In Seattle, by the way. You think the Patriots are for real?
Definitely. Yeah. I think Cam Newton's a great fit. I thought I had high hopes on him once they signed him and stuff, but I get what you meant with the 5-11 and the it's tough to bet against Bill Belichick though, and
at least you understand. At least you understand. A lot of people were like,
I do because Tom Brady's been here for our whole lifetime. Belichick hasn't known anything other than a stationary quarterback that's not going to move, and if he's going to move, he's going to get his helmet knocked off his head, he can't run the ball. Cam Newton, RPOs, a new era in New England. I love it. The first 3 games were fun to watch. He can still throw the ball. Clearly, his completion percentage was all right the first game. I think it was around 78, and then it's been slowly dropping. But if he can keep that steady, he's going to have a good year, obviously, as he's shown. Almost beat Seattle in Seattle, like you said. I think, obviously, not having fans in the stands is a big factor in football games more than basketball games, I think, because football games, if you're in a stadium like the Superdome, obviously the Saints are going to have an advantage,
Right.
So I think that's got to be a huge deciding factor on it. But like you said, it all came down to that one play at the end, and maybe it could have been Cam punching it in or Belichick coming up with a more intuitive play to get into the end zone. But we could be 3-0. We could be 0-3, but 2-1's all right. I'll take it.
Well, if you haven't read the story, my stories before, I just said it out loud. I was like, quarterback nobody wanted. Year of COVID, no real practice. 2 West Coast trips. Statistically, the league's toughest schedule in a new system. What do you want me to do? Like, I didn't see it. So, yeah, I was wrong. But they go to Arrowhead. They go to Kansas City. They're going to face Patrick Mahomes. You give them a shot?
It's tough because, we're going to bring it up in a bit, but
yeah,
I'll say it right now. I think the Chiefs are going to go back-to-back for sure.
Ooh,
especially,
win it all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially with that standout win last week against Baltimore.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes looked good. The defense looked good. They shut down that Ravens offense. Mark Andrews played horrible on my fantasy team. If he played a slight bit better, I could have beat Evan Pierce shutout. But
A lot of drops for him though.
that one in the end zone too. You see that one?
That would have got you a lot of points.
I think so, yeah. And I only lost by like less than a point or something. So that totally stunk. But yeah, as for the Patriots going into Arrowhead, I don't think actually no, there are fans in the stands, I believe.
A
In
few.
Kansas City. Yeah, not obviously not a ton, not groundbreaking, but I feel like it's got to help to an extent, to have that team cheering for you there. So, um, I don't know. I wouldn't bet for New England. That's what I'll say. I'm going to bet against them. Obviously, I'm a New England fan, but Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, that offense, and they're tough to bet against, dude. I don't know.
Could you see the Patriots going in there and just getting their doors blown off and just getting blown out? Like, if I said to you, Patriots lose by 17, could you, like, 2 touchdowns? Could you see that happening?
I think 2 touchdowns at the max. But let me say this, we go into Seattle week 2. I think we all expected to lose that game against Russell Wilson, who's
I sure
probably
did.
early season MVP pick. But, we go into there thinking we're going to get the doors kicked in, and we lose by 5. Could have won, like we said. Next week, Las Vegas, probably we all bet, I know you bet, watched your picks, that it was going to be a lot closer game than it was.
Fat L
Patriots
on my part.
absolutely had their way with Las Vegas. Seriously. And so I can't see it being more than 2 touchdowns as a gap, but I'd go closer to 1. I think the Patriots probably lose by around 7.
That's fair. Yeah, we saw a lot from Cam, and it exposed a lot of kind of things I expected going into the year. Patriots are going to be a team that runs it, that sometimes throws it, instead of, Cam's harm. He was accurate against Seattle. He had his moments in the first game against Miami. Against Vegas, though, kind of exposed some, I don't know. I didn't like Cam throwing in that game. So I don't know if that's a trend to continue or just an odd game out, but Patriots, I don't know. Okay, so if I take the whatever the line is, if it's like 8, say it's 8, I don't know, and I pick if I take Kansas City to beat them by more than 8, am I out of my mind? Like, if I wake up on that Monday and I'm wrong, like, am I gonna get destroyed, or should I be destroyed?
I don't think you should be destroyed because I think that's a tough game to bet on.
Yeah,
I know you're probably going to bet on that game, right? I think.
100%.
Okay, so
Monopoly money.
yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I think 8. Anywhere from 3 to 14, I think is reasonable of a gap.
Yeah.
To be trailing that team. If it's anything more than that, they should be ashamed that they even showed up that day.
I think Russell Wilson is my MVP pick so far. My way too early MVP pick. You could also throw Mahomes in there as well, and Aaron Rodgers. They're kind of the top 3. But if you had to pick one, who would it be?
I think Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. They played the Cowboys obviously last week, and he had a great performance. 5 touchdowns. Should have been 6. DK Metcalf with the error at the 1-yard line. That forced fumble from the Cowboys defense, but you can't put it all on Russell Wilson there because I think obviously he's the backbone of that team. He's carrying that team, and that's what makes him the most valuable player. But 5 touchdowns is a lot for a game. Obviously, he's having a really good start to the season, and but the Cowboys, I don't think he throws 5 touchdowns against any other team, but it's just the Cowboys, so you can do anything against them.
Yeah, they have a terrible defense on statistically. The offense simply runs because of him. They bring in receivers that, outside of DK Metcalf, nobody's heard of, and it works. It works. Somehow, some way, they're in the Super Bowl conversation simply because of him. Because if you put even like Matt Ryan in that team's not going anywhere.
No way.
They're not.
Just but if you that's a good example, Matt Ryan, because what happens if you flip Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan?
Atlanta.
Seahawks tank, Atlanta Super Bowl contenders.
There you go.
Maybe because of the defense that'll hold them back because their defense is putrid, but Julio Jones and Russell Wilson, oh my god!
And your boy Todd Gurley, can't forget about him.
Yep, he's declined since his Rams days. I think he's not putting up as much, but who knows? With that trio, who knows? But that'd be something fun to watch.
They would be the favorite in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl. It would be Falcons. Falcons Chiefs written all over it. Chiefs are
NFC? I thought Chiefs were AFC.
No, like
you meant Super Bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you meant NFC Championship.
Oh no.
I'd love to see I think this year for NFC Championship we might see Seattle, Green Bay, and then as the other team, there's another team over there that I think could I think so. Yeah. Those three. But I don't know. Tom Brady I think he's old. I'm happy he's out of New England. That first game in Tampa Bay.
Wait, hold on. Hold the phone. We didn't have this planned. I know I'm happy that he's in Tampa Bay. I thought I was alone on this island. Wait, you're happy that he's in that he's going?
Oh yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. I love Tom Brady. I love each of the Super Bowl rings and championships that he brought us. But the dude is like 43 years old.
You were ready for something new at the end of last year.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you see his last playoff game?
Yeah, it wasn't great.
His last throw as a Patriot. He wants to leave throwing a pick six as his last throw. He should be ashamed. Seriously. And then the next game,
oh my God.
His next game, he comes out and throws another pick six in Tampa Bay. Like, dude, we know you love the game of football. We know you're a beast. Possibly a GOAT. You're in the GOAT conversation. But, dude, he's got to get it together. And then he brings Gronk there, and Gronk's got a few targets, but a few receptions, hasn't made a ton of noise.
We buried the lead on this. We should have led off with this. So
I know it. I didn't even think about that, but we should have.
So after that Tennessee game, in like the month and a half, 2 months that, things were just kind of in standstill, before free agency started, you were like, good riddance. You were like, I hope you leave. Yeah. Do you still love Tom Brady today? Or do you think he's just not very good?
I don't think he's very good anymore just because of his age, like I said. But, I'll always love him because of what he did for New England,
Wow.
But what do you you agree with me? I thought you were on the opposite end.
No. I mean, from a Patriots perspective, I would have loved to bring him back, obviously. But I guess when I say I'm with you is that I thought the Tampa Bay thing was going to work. I think it's going to. He looks good in that uniform. He's got Maserati of an offense.
On paper, it should work. Their defense has balled out the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, obviously.
They'll be a playoff team.
I think so. Yeah. If he can start stringing his passes together and really look for Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, he's got the core. Fournette
it's a chemistry thing.
Yeah,
you got to get used to it.
It'll come over time. Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Wow. I'm surprised. You know what? I'm happy we agree on that.
Me too, man.
Well, anyway.
We agree on enough, but there's another thing.
Yeah, add that to the list. It's been great having you on, Ben. You're welcome anytime on the channel. Look forward to the Celtics off season. I'm sure we'll get another thing going before then, obviously, but a lot of things to be excited about, especially the Rams, your Rams, and hopefully Todd Gurley stays healthy. How about that?
Yeah, hope so. It's going to be a fun winter.
I'll see you soon.
All right, see you, man.